So Novo Nordisk makes the Ozempic, or Wegovy, one of them, the GLP drugs, which are enormously popular around the world. And it does show something that's pretty outrageous. The U.S. price is $1,300. In China, it's $193. And in Denmark, $137. In the United Kingdom, $92. So we pay about 10 times as much for the same drug here. This is true of almost all drugs, and it is pretty annoying. And that's why some states are planning to import drugs from Canada and places like that to try to do something about this. The idea of capitalism was that this couldn't happen. If one store sells something at 10 times the price, everyone will go to the other store. This is why a lot of Americans sneak into Canada to get drugs and such. This is one of the things that the Trump administration says they're going to fix. This is what RFK Jr. says he's going to fix, but of course the main thing he's going to do is stop pasteurizing milk, get the fluoride out of the water, and end all vaccines. So he's going to bring back cholera and polio and measles. He does have a few ideas that are reasonable, like improving the diet, but his idea of improving the diet is to eat roadkill. So, I think it's going to be very much like the Reagan administration. I lived through the Reagan administration. It was like this before, when a guy that denies science and doesn't care about the truth and just believes nothing but lies gets in power. Every day you look at the headline and say, what horrible thing is he doing today? And it was that way last time with Trump, and it's probably going to be even more that way this time. And it's a special new thing, though, to hire a cabinet completely full of rapists. I mean, the Republican Party stands for rape, disease, and bribery now. It's much more blatantly, obviously corrupt than it used to be. Anyway, that's what the voters chose. God have mercy on us all. So Microsoft is finally going to hot patch Windows. There's a third-party company called ZeroPatch that sells these products. And what it does, you don't have to reboot the machine to install the patch because it just patches the running code in memory, which is a way to do it. Oh, and someone says it's clear to go through airport. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I have a TSA pre-check, whatever that is. There's a bunch of these things. Yeah, I don't know anything about how well they protect your privacy. They clearly have some photographic information about you. And it's a valid question to wonder if they're actually protecting their data, but I don't know any way to tell. Also, this is something else that Trump did last time, is to deregulate the cable companies so they don't have any nonsense about limiting what they can do, and so they're going to put data caps back. They're convinced data caps are good. Of course they are, because they managed to screw our money out of people. And of course, to be fair, this is a capitalist position. They should be allowed to offer many products, including limited ones. And supposedly the diversity in the marketplace will mean you can get a cheaper account if you're willing to put up with a data cap. So we'll see. Microsoft is going to have autonomous Copilot agents. And everybody has bet enormously on AI, thinking that AI is going to do awesome things, but so far it doesn't do much that anybody wants. But they're going to have agents that you can empower with the ability to log in and do things. Everyone's talking about agents. It's all the rage now. So you'd have, you give a chat bot, and you'd let you tell Word to draft or edit text, create slides, build a data visualization, and so on. So the chatbot is going to be able to do workflow automation, do something like sourcing sale leads, handling customer service inquiries. It'll be able to read something, process it, and make some kind of output, open applications and launch things. The thing they've talked about is that it will be able to make reservations for you at a restaurant or for Trip. If it works, we'll see. All right. So this is because of the Palo Alto. No, it wasn't Palo Alto. It was CrowdStrike. Because of the CrowdStrike disaster that brought down a huge number of Windows servers around, I think, last Christmas, when it happened a while ago, Microsoft is trying to fix that. And it trashed servers so they would not boot up. They would get stuck in an endless loop, booting partway up and then crashing. And they've now made a tool that will supposedly let you fix a machine without being physically near it when it's in that state. Even though it won't even boot up, this tool will somehow rescue it. So that sounds pretty good if they can make it work. It's certainly a good idea. This is a fairly common problem. There have been problems like this every few years where they trash your machines and you have to physically visit every machine with a CD to boot from that to fix it. And this is really bad for people with large deployments, of course. And so Trump has made it clear they plans to deport millions of people. There's not remotely enough immigration agents to do that, so he's going to use the military against U.S. people. This is what Trump always wanted to do. He wanted to deploy the military against the George Floyd protesters. He wanted them to just shoot the George Floyd protesters. It was the old-fashioned Republicans, the cucks and traitors, as he would call them, on his team that blocked these wonderful ideas. And he's going to try to make sure there are no such obstacles next time. So we have the military going house to house, hunting down people, and taking them off to desert camps where they will presumably wait for years or die because no one wants to take them. It's going to be pretty horrible from the sounds of it. At least I don't like it, but apparently 50% of America thinks this is great and wants it. We will see. It's possible that it won't happen, but California wants to resist this. California is a sanctuary city. San Francisco is a sanctuary state. They are trying to prepare for this, to somehow resist it. The only preparation I see here is there are some programs to offer lawyers to immigrants so they can defend themselves, but those programs are seriously underfunded and they have a huge backlog of thousands of cases, so they can't even get to the people that currently have immigration issues, and they would have to greatly beef up to possibly address what's coming. So I am not sure how much California is going to be able to protect you from the American federal government. In many procedures, like the ending of abortion and birth control, California will be able to protect its citizens from what the federal government does for a while. But I think on this issue of immigration, California may not have the power to protect its citizens. The big issue to a lot of my students. And another thing is, just like before, they say they're only going to deport illegal immigrants or immigrants that have committed crimes, but they've already proven they don't mean that. When they talk about the ones that they falsely accuse of eating dogs and cats in Ohio, those are legal immigrants, but Trump and Vance have said they aren't legal because I don't agree with the law that was used to put them in there, therefore they're illegal. So that means nobody's legal in their eyes. And all right.
I think one of the problems once he starts the presidency is how many judges he's able to.
Of course, and that was what that bill would have fixed. That bill would have increased the number. They tried to pass the bill, which came from Republicans, but Trump killed it. So this problem would persist, so he could campaign on it, and that worked. So, and there isn't any plan to increase the number of judges. They just plan on arbitrarily deporting everybody. And the tariffs will almost certainly create massive inflation. But no, he doesn't believe that. He believes, Reagan did this too. Reagan had false beliefs about economy that were counterproductive, and no one could get through to him, just like Trump. They believed something he had boxes of clippings from newspapers he believed in there. I remember some of his things were like trees cause more pollution than cars and such. He had a lot of these beliefs like Trump, totally false beliefs. But anyway, we've been here before, although overthrowing elections is a new thing, and that's probably fatal. Now 75% of Republicans do not believe elections are fair, although this time they do because they won. But if they lose elections, they think there's cheating. And I don't think a democracy can survive that. Anyway, we're going to see. We're living through a very exciting time in politics.
We have to rethink the concept of democracy, especially how it is exercised in light of this new technology.
Well, you can think about it, but I think what we're going to do is just descend into fascism. Into fascism. I mean, you'll have a dictator is where we're headed for the short run. Now, after the dictator dies or something, then there may be a revival of democracy.
Right,
we'll see.
right, with the system in place, because now we have the means. We have the means that could bring democracy closer to the public.
Well, we do. We had it. The Voting Rights Act was it, and the Supreme Court removed it. Okay. So, I mean, we did have much superior democracy in the 60s, 70s, up until about 95. Right. And they deliberately...
And we didn't have this technological means. Yeah. So today, I mean, yeah. we could have a referendum every week with this, you know.
Yeah,
so
well, I'd be content if they just restored the Voting Rights Act and reversed Citizens United. I mean, the Supreme Court decision in the last couple of decades have permitted racial discrimination against voters and infinite money being spent on politics. I mean, both of those were outlawed, and they removed those protections. So that would help, and that's what Bernie wanted to do. But getting the money out of politics is very difficult because every political party completely depends on this huge amount of money. So they're not willing to do without it.
Politics should be funded publicly with public money.
We have that, but if you get the public money, you only get a small amount. If you take private money, there's a lot more.
Yeah.
So the people that restrict themselves to the public money are at a great disadvantage, and almost no one's been willing to do that. Obama ran that he would only take the public money, and then he reversed it, and I'd say that's why he won. So anyway, all right, so also we'll have, they're planning to call up the military officers that were involved in the withdrawal from Afghanistan to bring them back to have court-martials and indeed trials for treason and perhaps execution. That's what the Trump team is planning. So they'll bring back the generals that did that and punish them. He also, and you've probably heard the MSNBC hosts made the trip to Mar-a-Lago to bend the knee before Trump and try to ask him to please not punish newspaper reporters. They're very afraid, like the Washington Post editor. Just like in other fascist countries, the media people that oppose the government are likely to be imprisoned and punished in ways, and they're now trying to rush to bend the knee and submit to the dictator to hopefully appease him before he punishes them. Anyway, it's exciting times. These are history books will be writing about this. You said there'll be massive resistance to all of this. That is interesting. Yeah, that was it, denaturalizing citizens. Well, we'll see how much resistance there is. If he actually deploys the military on the streets to enforce his will, the resistance will probably not be that strong, which is why he wants to do it. We will see. The only resistance I think that would matter is if the Republicans in the Congress or the Senate block him, and that seems like very unlikely to happen. They've all got the message. But we'll see. The thing that bothers them is Matt Gaetz. They personally hate Matt Gaetz. And they really don't want to put him in because so we'll see. That's the test to see if they'll just do anything. Anyway, let me stop this.